Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. It's a Saturday edition, and I'm live and unrehearsed, unplanned, and actually alone tonight. Our very own Mr. Longbeard got under the weather, so he's at home resting comfortably, but it's of course up to me to carry this brick one more night. But I love this brick. This is my brick. And I hope you guys love it too. So, but it is always nice when Don's here, help, do the shows. It's always a lot of fun. But I hope you guys will have a lot of fun with just me, and we'll get right into it. But as always, throughout the course of the show tonight, hey Carlton, give me a call. I need some fabric softener. Throughout the course of the show tonight, the phone lines will be open, and the number for the show is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500 is the call-in number if you've got something paranormal that you'd like to share. Love to hear from you if you do. So that's always an option. If you're not really into doing the whole call-in thing, that's okay. You can always just let me know by emailing me what your story is, and I can share it on your behalf. So you can email us at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. And the fabric softener's on the phone. Hey, Carlton, you going to get rid of my static?
Hey, Brent, I'm here to hold it down like a soldier, brother. You can leave this line open. Good to go.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, man.
Anytime, brother. Carry on.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Something about the connections. And I have the new fiber connection and everything. So I don't know. It doesn't appear to be on my end, but it's out there in the ethers somewhere. And so all we have to do is just talk to Carlton every once in a while, which is always a pleasure anyway. So it's a win-win. And generally he calls in pretty consistently anyway. So we're going to be talking to Carlton always. He just brings a lot to the show, a lot of contributions in the form of information, but got a lot of stuff to go over. But again, it's just me tonight. Remember, tomorrow the new podcast will come out. So I hope you guys will check that out. And again, the podcast is not this. This is the YouTube show and TFR live show, and which is broadcast on iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live as well. But the podcast will be released tomorrow, and it was an interview I had with a gentleman who goes by the name of Bullbuck, and he's a logger, a career logger out of Oregon, and he had some really wild encounters with Sasquatch up there, and we talked about it on the show, and you'll be able to hear that tomorrow. So I hope you guys will check that out, and you can find that on all the major podcast platforms. It's out there. So I guess right up front, that's about all I got. So might as well just dive into it, right? So I found this article, and I know pretty much everybody was a fan of Jurassic Park at one time. If you still haven't seen Jurassic Park, then there might be something wrong with you, or any of the Jurassic Parks, as it were. At least the first one. I hope you've seen the first one. But in there's an iconic scene of people always trying to get away from dinosaurs, which is, it's got to be absolutely terrifying. And I got to tell you, that was the first really, really, really realistic CGI movie that I ever saw, and it blew me away. I remember just being able to imagine what that would be like just by watching that movie. It was incredible. Because before that, it was a lot of stop motion stuff. It was like, oh, there's the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and the Rudolph Saves Christmas kind of motions going on, and they did a good job for what it was. But the CGI really brought it to life. But in there's an iconic scene of them, of three of them in a Jeep pulling away as this Tyrannosaurus Rex is chasing them down. So I found an article tonight that I wanted to lead with, because it's kind of a cool thing. I always wondered, what would they be? How fast would they be? And it seems to me that maybe their measurements on the movie were maybe not far off, but this says otherwise, actually. So, and this article says, can a human outrun a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Is this paranormal? Well, no, but if dinosaurs ever show up, you're going to be glad I shared this. That's all I got to say. So you're welcome. And God, with our sciences, it's about to happen sometime. Somebody's going to let something out of a lab that's going to become Tyrannosaurus Rexes. And then you'll thank me. So, can a human outrun a Tyrannosaurus Rex? This comes from unexplained-mysteries.com. And it says, new research has suggested that you might actually stand a chance of escaping a rampaging T-Rex? Which is news to me because they were flying in that Jeep and just barely outrunning it. If Jeff Goldblum would have got off the shifter, they probably would have been much safer. But anyway, it says it's often joked that if you were among a group of people running for their lives from a meat-eating dinosaur, you wouldn't have to outrun the dinosaur. You'd only have to outrun the slowest person. In all seriousness, however, it turns out that escaping from a rampaging Tyrannosaurus Rex would actually be a lot easier than you might expect, even if you were the only target it was after. The key lies in the fact that T-Rex was most likely rubbish at running. According to John R. Hutchinson, lead author of the appropriately titled paper, Tyrannosaurus Rex was not a fast runner, the tyrant lizard was only really capable of short distance jog. Okay. The reason for this lies in the structure of its leg bones and muscles, which, despite their large size, were not built for running at speed or over long distances. If the dinosaur attempted to go any faster, there's a chance its leg bones would simply shatter. While its brief top speed may have been about 13 miles per hour, slightly exceeding the top speed of a human runner, it would have been very slow to accelerate, and its large size would have made it lack the maneuverability of its human target. All things considered, a reasonably fit human would have decent chance of getting away. Just hope that you don't run straight into a group of velociraptors, however. Okay, so there you have it. That's at least one scientific opinion or hypothesis that maybe they weren't fast. I just wonder how the hell they ate then. I mean, if they were slow and just loping around, I guess the Brachiosaurus, the Brontosaurus and stuff were pretty, they were not sprinters either, obviously. So maybe there was a lot of slow food for them, so it all worked out. But I can't help but think, what's the one thing you hear about honeybees or bumblebees? There's no way. If they were to look at bumblebees and never had seen one, they would say their wings would be far too small to fly. They must have been crawlers or land dwellers that had maybe lost their wings or were losing their wings or something like that. But of course, we see honeybees flying all the time, and so obviously science is fallible in this. So I wouldn't bank on it. I also wouldn't bank on standing still because they can only see motion either. Apparently they had really good eyesight, and that wasn't really wouldn't actually be an actual tactic to try unless you just want to make them, not have to break a sweat while they chew on you. But yeah, that's some information. It's news to me, folks. I just heard it today, and so I thought I'd share it with you because, it's something everybody should know. So, oh, wait, who did that? Oh, Kirsten, thank you so much. Happy Saturday, everyone. Love the show. We love you too, Kirsten. You're always so amazing. Thank you so much. And it means a lot. And I can't tell you how much those incredible donations go, how far they go in supporting the show. But I just want everybody to know, however you can support the show is amazing. If you're just here watching, you're supporting the show. If you're hitting the like button, if you're on YouTube, you're supporting the show. If you let people know, you're supporting the show. So there's lots of ways to support us. But thank you so much. Oh, Les. Wow, Les showed up too. Man, you guys are great. So thank you so much, guys. I just appreciate that generosity. It really, really means the world. But all of those things mean the world to us. Right now, I'm really geared up towards helping the Paranormal Portal grow. And our podcast audience is really big, but our YouTube presence is still pretty humble. So I'm just hoping you guys will continue to spread the word because it's been great seeing that grow and to meet all kinds of new watchers and listeners. So thank you all for that. You all have built this show. I haven't advertised it anywhere, so we are as big as you guys have made it. Thank you so much for that. All right, so moving along, that was a good first article. I don't know what the hell this is about. Is Tom Cruise supposed to be going into space or something? Because I've seen this article a few times now, and it's I don't know what is he doing Mission Impossible space or what? I don't know what's going on here. I guess I'm going to read it just because I'm more curious than anything. I've seen this poking its head up a few places on the internet, and so I want to read what it says. Again, this is coming from unexplainedmysteries.com, and it says, Russia in new bid to beat Tom Cruise into space. I didn't know he was going. It says Russia is attempting to beat the U.S. by shooting the first feature film in space before Tom Cruise does. Oh, okay. I guess they're planning on shooting a movie in space. Wow. Back in May, NASA confirmed that it would be working alongside veteran Hollywood actor Tom Cruise on a new movie that would be at least partially filmed aboard the ISS. Wow, that's pretty awesome. The action adventure will also reportedly involve SpaceX, suggesting that perhaps the private space firm will be providing transport to ferry equipment and or personnel to the orbiting outpost. If it goes ahead, the movie will be the first feature film ever shot in space. Not content with missing out, however, Russia has since revealed that it is seeking a leading actress to venture into space as part of a rival plan to beat the U.S. to the punch. A competition has been launched by the country's largest TV channel to find a real superhero who would go to the stars, at the same time as becoming a big international star. Applicants need to be fit, well-proportioned, and most importantly, Russian. I guess there's not a lot of diversity offered in this plan for them. If everything goes according to plan, the new movie will be filmed in October 2021 aboard the International Space Station, which is around the same time that the U.S. Tom Cruise movie will be filmed. Man, the space station is going to be crowded as hell. This is not science fiction. This is all very realistic version of what may happen in the near future. Channel 1 CEO Konstantin Ernst said of the movie's plot, filming aboard an orbital outpost is expected to take approximately 10 days. It remains to be seen who will get their movie finished first. Well, the race is on, folks. I guess there's still competition out there between us and Russia. I don't know. I don't know. I think we should just focus on getting back to the moon and getting to Mars and things like that. Although it would be neat, I gotta say, it would be neat to see a movie that was filmed in space, because for once, and might put to rest the whole idea of what shape the planet is, you know. And some people may scoff at it, but I'm telling you, there are people that are absolutely beyond a doubt convinced that we are on a flat plane, or on a convex plane, or you know, whatever version of that you wish. I mean, personally, that doesn't work for me, and that's not me casting aspersions. It's fine. But if they actually get something up there and they actually shoot some pictures of the Earth with, you know, lenses where there's actors on screen and the Earth, then they can't say, well, it's a fisheye, well, it's this, it's that. You know, maybe it'll put to rest some of that stuff, and we can move forward from there. Because it's funny how we get stuck on these tangents. It's, you know, it's this belief or this belief. And then there's this big, you know, vitriol back and forth. You know, you roundies, oh, you flatties, you know, or whatever people call themselves up there when they're having these debates. You know, I think it's fine. Believe whatever you want, because at the end of the day, your life is still happening, and you still have the same problems and the same issues to deal with, regardless of whether you're on a ball or a flat plane. So I think that's what we need to expend more energy on. But I think it's interesting nonetheless. And again, I'm not saying that anybody's being ridiculous for their beliefs, because I'm just not educated enough to know. I'll be the first to say that. It's like, whatever the shape it is, it's holding me down, and that's really important right now. So just some thoughts there, ladies and gentlemen. But I guess I didn't know that they were going to shoot a movie in space, and apparently it's going to become a big thing. Well, it'll save some CGI money, I guess. All right, so let's see what's next. This is another weird one. This is all from the news, the hot sheets, ladies and gentlemen, that I like to go over at the beginning of all the shows, because there's a lot of strangeness out there. And this one, I don't, you know, here's the thing. I'll say this before I even open up the article. However you choose to express yourself in life is your choice. If that gives you happiness and that makes you, you know, feel like a more realized version of yourself, then fantastic. However, when people go to lengths such as what I'm about to show you, it makes you wonder, you know, why is that person so unhappy with themselves the way they were, and choose to make themselves into something completely different? And, I mean, granted, more power to them if that helps them heal some wounds or whatever. But I find this pretty interesting, and I'm going to share it with you now. And this is again from unexplained-mysteries.com. Man modifies himself to become a real-life orc. A real-life orc, ladies and gentlemen. I suppose, I don't know, I got to check here and see quick before I read, because I want to know and yeah, Bam's in there and all one's in there. So I'll share this over to TFR as well. You guys can have a look at this. It's pretty interesting. There wasn't anybody in the chat when I started, but there it is. There's the article, and I'm going through it live on our YouTube channel as well. But man modifies himself to become a real orc. 41-year-old who goes by the name of Orc, that shouldn't have taken long to come up with that one, has turned himself into a character out of a video game. It could be argued that there are some people who take body modifications and tattooing a little too far, as evidenced by Orc, an enthusiast from the Brazilian town of Iguatemi, who has had so much work done to his body that he doesn't even look human anymore. He had his first tattoo done when he was just 15 years old and has since undergone a variety of procedures to make himself look like his namesake, a fictional orc-like creature. In addition to covering 80% of his body in ink, Orc has had both his eyeballs tattooed black, his tongue split into a fork, and has even had 2 large tusks fitted over his bottom teeth. So that's not actually embedded. It's just some mouth insert. Okay. He has also reshaped his ears and has multiple subdermal implants. I'm trying to be myself. These are just my ideas, my inspirations coming from the heart. I'm not inspired by anyone, he says. Even his wife has got in on the act with several tattoos and body modifications of her own. According to reports, however, his mother isn't exactly a fan of his new look. Yeah. All right, family photos. I gotta admit, the guy is definitely dedicated to his vision. There's no doubt. If you're willing to undergo all of that to realize whatever vision of yourself you have, I mean, you are definitely committed, or you're committable. One of the two, maybe both. And again, I'm not really. I don't care what this guy does, as long as he's not hurting anybody and he's enjoying his life. Good for him. But that is pretty aggressive. Wow. And just when you think you've seen it all, then pow. That's pretty intense. I don't know. It's strange. It's a strange world, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe there's a Hollywood gig in that for him if he, I'm sure he'll appear on something somewhere, because that's the money shot right there, right? I don't know. Very, very strange stuff, but very cool stuff. I mean, that's fine. Again, it's fine. I like that website too, Bam. Thank you. The Vomit Comet and swimming pools and CGI. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's really wild. I mean, I understand, everybody's got their things to work through, but man, if you want to reinvent your entire personality, your entire appearance and everything, you must not have liked where you started from. But if that makes him feel complete, again, more power to him. It's his world, his life. He can certainly do that. This was kind of interesting for those of you that are following some of these fast radio bursts that have been coming out. In recent history, we've been finding these fast radio bursts that seem to be potentially proof of intelligence out in the great beyond. However, there is this article that comes from the same website again, and it's fast radio burst is traced back to its source. So they actually seem to have traced at least one of them. For the first time, astronomers have traced a fast radio burst, or FRB, back to its original source, a magnetar. Just for the record, the fast radio bursts are believed that it could be a technology that's meant to energize ships that are far away from the home base, and they can do that through these fast radio bursts. And so that was a hypothesis when these things were happening regularly and seemed to be not of natural cadence, like there seemed to be a definite pattern to them that would seem scheduled. So it was assumed that they were. Look at that. You tell me my computer's not listening to me. Look at that. There's all of a sudden I got a World of Warcraft ad on my computer. Seriously? All right. I just talked about that guy turning into an orc, and then bam. Yeah, it's listening. Okay, so fast radio bursts, which last mere milliseconds yet generate as much energy as the sun does in an entire day, have remained something of an enigma since their discovery back in 2007. Now at last we may be on the verge of explaining what is producing these phenomena thanks to a team of astronomers who have pinpointed the source of a burst that was detected back in April. Using data from 2 separate observations in North America, the team managed to trace the burst back to a magnetar, a highly magnetized dead star situated 30,000 light years away. A type of neutron star, these dense, compact objects have magnetic fields trillions of times more intense than that of the Earth. The fast radio burst itself lasted a mere fraction of a second, but was highly luminous. Given the source distance, this is the most luminous radio burst ever detected in our galaxy, said Danielle Micheli, I assume, who is one of the team working at British Columbia's CHIME telescope. I guess that's CHIME, yeah. The luminosity is still lower than that of fast radio bursts coming from outside our Milky Way, but it demonstrates that magnetars can release a huge amount of radio energy with properties like those of FRBs, implying at least that some FRBs are probably coming from magnetars. And that makes you, oh my God. Her belly keeps growing. Oosh. It makes you wonder if those natural forms of fast radio bursts are out there. Is it possible to create systems that could utilize that energy bursts as they come? And I don't know that this one actually had any kind of cadence or pattern to it. It's just one burst as it sounds like, but they traced it back to a magnetar. If it was more frequent, could it be utilized like we believe is potentially possible for alien civilizations? And if we could figure out ways to utilize that burst as it comes through, maybe that would be pretty cool. I don't know. I don't know how far away we are from that. I just learned yesterday that we finally have the method to create indefinite low voltage power from a thin, basically one-dimensional layer of carbon atoms that has it's graphene, has a natural wave to it, and they've been able to harness that and as a power source for low voltage. And they're looking at mounting a bunch of those on transistors and creating these low voltage power sources that would never run out of energy. And so, I don't know, it's really got me thinking about this alternative energy, but Carlton's going to come on in the near future, and we're going to do a show about that because I really want to explore that kind of stuff. I think that is really exciting. The team's up to study magnetar. I'm not going to show the video, obviously, because, well, it's going to be just a recap of what we just read. And this show isn't about, astronomy so much as it is about the paranormal. Let me check the time, ladies and gentlemen, because I know we're getting close to our first break. Yeah, it's just literally a minute and a half away. So, I think that there's a lot of potential in this free energy stuff that Tesla dreamed up and was teaching us about way back in the day. And unfortunately, when he passed, his work was all commandeered and taken and classified, which is absolutely a heartbreaker because it was totally contrary to the wishes of the man himself. He always did want to provide people with free energy. And I think that's an awesome deal, because if we could move past that, it would open up the field for so much more development that wouldn't be, keeping us saddled in one archaic system of power and control, literally. But I'm excited to do that show because I have looked into these free energy things a bit. I even tried putting together some of the experiments that you can find on YouTube just to see. I didn't know. But I ended up learning a lot about hoaxes when I did that, because I just sound blown, and then I just have all these wire bundles and solder with magnets on it laying around. It's like, yeah, that didn't do anything. But then I learned about how they con people with those videos, and how they're mounting these little those little flat batteries in lights and stuff, and secret compartments, and it makes it look like, wow, it's really working. It's not plugged in anywhere. Well, yeah, because they're powering it a different way. So it's unfortunate that there's so many people conning this stuff, because there's lots to learn. But we're going to go to our first break, ladies and gentlemen. So don't go away. We'll be back with half hour number 2 and lots more on the Paranormal Portal. So don't go away. Hammer time. Boom, doo, 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 doo. Sorry. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's the half hour number 2 here on the Paranormal Portal, and I hope you're having a great time. I'm having a great time, and that's half the battle. Because if I'm not having fun, nobody's having fun. But I'm having fun. Covered a lot of articles right up front there, but some interesting stuff. I hope you guys don't mind that. I think this stuff is incredibly interesting, and I like taking a real wide swath cut on this stuff. I don't mind doing shows that are really drilled down and just focused on one subject. And as I mentioned, we're going to be doing a free energy show in the near future, and that will be more monotopic. I don't know if that's even how to say that, but it'll just be that. But I like having the broad conversation about a lot of weirdness and stuff going on in the paranormal and in the world. Oh jeez, the minion's coming. Did you hear that? The minion is like thunder on the stairs, man. But yeah, so that's why I like to cover a lot of different topics on the show, and plus. And these 2-hour shows are long swaths, and I know that you guys are awesome and would be here anyway, but I like to try to give as many different topics as we can cover because, I think everybody has different interests. And I know, later in the show, we'll get into some Bigfoot sightings. That'll be coming up. Currently, though, I'm trying to find exactly what it was that I wanted to read right next. This is the one. That's one of them that I want to cover, but this one is a bit odd, and I don't know what to make of this. I think these things. Obviously, I don't really subscribe to what this person is saying. Believe me, I've done a lot of searching in my years doing this show to find any kind of material or experiences that people have had with actual vampires, because I think like the Black-Eyed Kids is kind of a bleed off, or that phenomena bled into what we now understand as our modern vampire mythos. The whole got to invite them in. You feel compelled to obey. They seem to have some kind of control. They exude this absolute primal fear in the people that experience them. The black eyes, of course, is also pretty dark and evil. And then when people do let them in, and there are a few accounts of that I've bumped into, generally either someone's going to die or they're going to get really sick. So that would almost mimic our modern vampire mythos of when the vampire begins to bite the person, they become sick, and their health just deteriorates until they eventually die, and then the idea is that they are then born again as a vampire, or either die and that's it, or if they're I don't know. There seems to be sometimes they can come back as a vampire, and sometimes they're just done. That's it. But I've really looked into that because I think there's got to be something to that. That those legends have persisted for so long. But this is an article I don't really subscribe to, but I just thought I'd bring it to you anyway because it's the only thing I've found about someone claiming to be a real vampire for a long time. And this is coming from animalien.com. It's a great site, too. And by the way, they just launched apparently a YouTube channel of their own. So I'd recommend you check it out. They do a fantastic job on their site. So this is Lilith Vampire is confident that she's already 600 years old. She tries not to appear in the sunlight and used to drink human blood. Used to. I guess it's like Monty Python. She turned me into a newt. Well, I got better. So she used to drink blood, but she got better. Lilith Vampire tries to make her skin as light as possible and does not go out into the sunlight. She is popular today as Lady of Darkness and tells everyone that she has been living for 600 vampire years. I don't know how that works. If that's like dog years, then maybe she has. I don't know. At the moment, the girl works in London and spends all her free time on her favorite hobby. I can work during the day and even go out, but it drains my body. I feel best after the sun disappears, says Lilith. The girl used to drink human blood and often changes into horror movie characters. Lilith started doing this as early as 18 years old, and after she watched a movie about Dracula. I was just in love with the incredible and mysterious image of Count Dracula, who I saw as a child. And over time, I fell in love with everything that relates to vampires. And so I started looking for people who think the same way I do, says a girl who recently turned 27 human years old. So yeah, that must be, vampire years must be really, really quick, like hummingbird years or something. When Lilith began to study vampire habits in their lives, she even experimented with cocktails made from human blood. Yeah. Of course, she did not attack anyone and did it only with the consent of other people. Many may consider that such rituals are related to darkness and evil, but Lilith herself believes that vampires may well be the force of good. Okay. The appearance of the girl, which is very much like a vampire, had a positive impact on her career. Currently, her Instagram has 150,000 subscribers, and many well-known companies offer her cooperation. I don't know if that was written in English initially, but I think they tried to get her, to work for them or something. I don't know. I mean, she's obviously easy on the eyes. She's a very striking woman, but it's the same thing that I found over and over and over, which is the vampire is just basically a counterculture. It's like a form of goth in a sense, not in essence. But and again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. Express yourself however you choose to. However, I do believe that there is something to the vampire mythos. But I got to tell you that if they are indeed out there, I don't think that they're first of all, I don't think they're anything like Twilight. They're not even like Dracula or any of our popular culture versions of vampires or whatever. And they're not even like, the vampires in Underworld or Blade or anything like that. If they are out there, I think that they probably exist. Well, I mean, there's energy vampires, which can be people, oddly enough, and they can be spiritual entities. But those, I think, the vampire in that sense is not really a descriptor. It's just it explains how they subsist by drawing from others, and in that case, it's energy. But I think that there are some kind of creatures out there. They're not cute. They're not handsome. They don't sparkle in the sun. I think that they're probably monstrously horrible looking things that are kind of like really large parasites. And I'm probably going to have some hate mail now. But I don't think that they would be attractive or beautiful or alluring or anything. I think they would be horrible, terrifying, grotesque, and repulsive if they do indeed exist. And if I disappear suddenly, you may know what happened. Just for the record, but I don't think that it's a romantic thing at all. I think that if they are out there now, here's the thing: we do hear stories of people finding livestock and such without blood. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about just about like the cattle mutilation kind of stuff. While there may be some merit to that, I'm speaking more of just the people finding chickens, like dozens of chickens drained of blood, and goats. Maybe the goat sucker, the chupacabra, might actually be what was long understood to be a vampire in ancient times. I don't think it's probably more creature-like than human-like. It may be bipedal to some degree or whatever, but I don't think it's. I think it's just a repulsive thing. It's not it's not this wonderfully enigmatic supernatural character that we've been reading about and watching movies about forever. So that's just my 2 cents. Again, I haven't found much to substantiate any of it, but I do believe that the black-eyed kids are kind of part of the mythos. The chupacabra could be part of that mythos as well. And again, it all breaks down to terminology. But of course, our Hollywoodization of the vampire has made it this almost attractive thing, like Lost Boys and stuff. It's like, ooh, I could do that and hang out and party all the time. And so there you have it. But just my 2 cents. I think there may be something out there. But Mary Bond says she doesn't drink blood, so that's good. And it was just kind of a tangent. It's not a show breaker, but I don't know. I just think about that so much because there's this idea that bad is good and good is bad and stuff, and maybe that can be true in terms of counterculture and stuff, but I don't think in the case of actual vampires, if they are out there, that's the case at all. In fact, there's apparently, and I only know little bits and pieces about this, but this is something I ran across back in the day when I was doing a lot of research about trying to find vampire stuff. And there's this short video. It was on the dark web initially, and I didn't see it on the dark web. I've never done the whole dark web thing at all, but I saw it, and it is this really disturbing, very quick film, and it's only a few seconds long. What I saw, and now apparently there's only one frame that survives because it's just been consistently disappearing from everywhere that it once was. But allegedly now there's only one frame that survives. And all you can make out in this one frame is this, what looks like a woman laying in a bed, kind of covered up by a sheet, and this I don't know, this bent over, I don't know, really weird, disheveled looking creature next to her that might look like a really badly dressed homeless person. Or even worse, I don't know. Again, it's very grainy, but I did see a longer version years ago, and I remember it really bothered me. And is it legit? No, probably not. But I don't know what the hell I saw, and I know I didn't want to see it again. So, could there be some merit to that? Maybe. There's lots of stuff out there, ladies and gentlemen, but let's move on, because that's what we do here. All right, I'm going to move to an article now. And this is actually written by Nick Redfern, who also writes for MysteriousUniverse.org. And again, that's the same site that Brent Swanser writes for. And we cover a lot of his work. But I did want to cover this one a little bit. But I got to look at it because, this is about the exact... And I got to get a hold of Nick Redfern. I'd like to get him on the show because what an excellent career he's had in the cryptozoology field. And again, this isn't a picture-heavy or image-heavy article. It's a discussion. But this comes up an awful lot, and any of you that are into Bigfoot or Dogmen or any other type of cryptid will you have to recognize that there is a bleed-through or crossover. And this article is entitled, When Cryptozoology Crosses Paths with the Domains of a Ghost. And it says, let me look at the time. I don't know how long I just gum run. Yeah, we should be okay. It says, let's get back here. Okay. All right. It says, one of the strangest of all cryptozoology-driven cases from the UK occurred in January of 1879. The location, Bridge 39, that spanned and still spans the old Shropshire Union Canal in England. There are a number of online articles on the affair that involved the sighting of a large chimpanzee-like animal that bounded across the bridge late at night, terrifying a man and his horse. From Encyclopedia of Cryptozoology, there is the following. The man-monkey was a cryptid primate, or zooform, reported from Staffordshire and Birmingham in the United Kingdom in the late 19th century. It is also referred to as the man-monkey in Staffordshire, Old Ned's Devil, and the Shropshire Union Canal man-monkey. The man-monkey was allegedly reported from a stretch of the Birmingham and Liverpool Junction Canal, now part of the Shropshire Union Canal, several times in the 19th century, but the most famous sighting occurred at 10 p.m. on the evening of January 21st in 1879. Moving on, there are the revelations contained in Charlotte S. Berner's 1883 book, Shropshire Folklore. Just before the primary source, and then in brackets, the primary source, reached the canal bridge, a strange black creature with great white eyes sprang out of the plantation by the roadside and alighted on his horse's back. He tried to push it off with his whip, but to his horror, the whip went right through the thing, and he dropped it to the ground in his fright. The poor, tired horse broke into a canter and rushed onwards at full speed, and the ghost still clinging to its back. How the creature at length vanished the man hardly knew. He told his tale in the village of Woodseaves, a mile further on, and so effectually frightened the hearers that one man actually stayed with his friends there all night, rather than cross the terrible bridge which lay between him and his home. The ghost seer reached home. The ghost seer reached home at length, still in a state of excessive terror, but as his master assured me, perfectly sober. And it was some days before he was able to leave his bed. So much was he prostrated by his fright. The whip was searched for the next day and found just at the place where he said he had dropped it. There is another lesser-known angle to the legend of the man-monkey. It's an angle that very seldom gets highlighted, namely that the creature is still being seen. Do an online search and you'll see that the most articles are focused on the late 19th century incidents. Things definitely don't end there, though. The most recent case I have on record dates from July 18th, 2013. I'll highlight that one on another day. Today, however, I'm going to focus on a case from the early 1970s. The location was that same old bridge. And as was also the case in 1879, the witness saw the hairy beast race across the bridge while heading home at late. And with that said, here's what I consider to be the most incredible of all the post's 1879 cases. Bob Carroll, who I chatted with at the October 1996 Staffordshire UFO conference in Cannock, England, had a very similar encounter in January or February of either 1972 or 1973 at Bridge 39 on England's Shropshire Union Canal, the very same location that spawned the diabolical man-monkey in January 1879. As we've already seen, it was the early hours of the morning, and Carroll, a truck driver, was driving to the nearby town of Newport, where he was due to make a 6 a.m. delivery, having picked up a pallet of paint from a depot in the city of Leicester the previous evening. Everything was completely normal until he approached, that damn bridge. Stressing that everything was over in a few seconds, Carroll said that it was his natural instinct to slow down as he reached the bridge. As he did so, he was shocked to see from his cab a covered humanoid race out of the trees, cross the bridge, and head down to the old canal. Carroll was amazed by the incredible speed and apparent agility of the beast as it bounded across the road and was subsequently and quickly lost to sight. He estimated that its height was 4.5 to 5 feet at the very most, that it had dark fur, and it looked very muscular. Stressing that he had always been a gung-ho type, Carroll quickly pulled over to the side of the road, turned on the hazard lights of his truck, and ran back to the scene of his bizarre and very brief experience. On reaching the canal bridge, Carroll quickly peered over both sides. However, the total lack of light made any attempt to see much of anything tangible nigh on impossible. But there was one other odd thing that Carroll was keen to relate, something that by now will be as familiar as it was disturbing. As he leaned over the bridge, he heard what was absolutely sure the loud and distressing cries of a baby. In fact, he said the cries were too loud, almost ear-splitting and echoing. Despite feeling that he needed to help the baby, Carroll near immediately developed a feeling that this was no baby. Rather, he felt it was the monkey-like animal, ingeniously and cunningly, trying to lure him down to the canal for an encounter of the fatal kind. Carroll, probably very wisely, did not act upon the beast's macabre ruse. It may very well have been the decision that saved his life. A few final words: that the creature has been seen from at least 1879 and as recent as 2013 effectively rules out possibility of it being something like an escaped chimpanzee. Indeed, there's no way such an animal could live for more than 140 years. And the words of Charlotte S. Burns show that the monster clearly had a spectral aspect to it. Without doubt, this is one of the strangest cryptozoological cases in the UK, and it's likely to stay that way too. Now, it looks like he's actually written a book about this too, The Man Monkey, as does come ever since the man drowned in the cut, by Nick Redfern, In Search of the British Bigfoot. Very cool. Yeah, and of course, the legends of Bigfoot-like creature out of the UK is obviously something I'm pretty familiar with, being involved on the Woodwose series from the Irish Bigfoot Research Organization as the narrator, which will be coming out in December, by the way, 1st of December. It's scheduled to appear on Amazon Prime, so I hope you guys will check it out. But there's lots of reports coming out of there. There's for as small an area as that is in comparison to the U.S., there's a lot going on over there. There's a lot of people seeing things and experiencing things. And certainly when you watch the documentary, you'll see some things as well that were documented, and pretty impressive things. So I think it's definitely worth a look. But, for a long time, I'd hear people arguing, there's no Bigfoot over there. There's no Bigfoot over there. But there's been legends of them for longer than we've been here. The Woodwose, Woody Wassa, the Gray Man. There's so many different names that it's had over the years. The Wild Man, Bigfoot in more recent terms. But this is not a new it's not a new phenomena. But I don't believe it's the same thing as this man monkey. I don't think that that's necessarily what they're experiencing over there in all of these cases, some kind of spiritual being. I think it's probably is some kind of spiritual thing, or I don't know, that possibility is multidimensional too, I guess. But which feels weird to say in modern times. Could be a multidimensional image, but what else is there? If it disappears, if it just goes completely vanishing in front of people, and is no longer seen or heard after that point, then what the hell else is it? It's either a ghost, or it's a creature that has some kind of ability that we don't understand currently. I don't know. You look at an octopus. An octopus is apparently very, very intelligent. I'm not I'm not downplaying the octopus, but it's not possible to see them once they're camouflaged. At least it's very, very hard. Now they can control the way they look. And the weird thing is they can do it as if they're looking through your eyes. Like you'll see exactly what should be underneath them. It's like they do it in total 360-degree fashion. Like they have other eyes on their body and they can see what they're on and make it project out. I don't know. It's crazy. And it's just a matter of pigmentation and changing the skin texture. But still, that's impressive as hell. I think that's, again, the Bigfoot phenomena, the ape phenomena is global. It's not a U.S. thing. It's not any one area. It's not an Australian thing. It's everywhere. Everywhere seems to have these things. And I don't mean to say things in a degrading way, because I think that they're intelligent. In the case of Bigfoot, I don't know. I mean, could they be multidimensional as well? Yeah, they could be. Is it something they control? I don't know. That's the part I'm having trouble with. And even for this thing, this man monkey, I think it's mostly spiritual by the sounds of it, because it just kind of comes and goes, and it has a repeatable pattern. So it almost sounds like some kind of a residual haunt of some kind, but intelligent, because it is targeting people, and it's targeting them very specifically in certain circumstances. So it does have an intelligence, and it seems to me it might be some kind of spiritual body. And again, I believe spirits can appear however they want. So, maybe that's just what it is. It's the spirit just appearing as a monkey, and for whatever reason. But I do think that the Bigfoot is a physical being. I think it exists physically because ghosts don't leave deep impressions in soil where their feet were. They don't break trees and push them over, large trees. So that there definitely is a huge physical aspect to it. And so I think it is largely physical. Now, this man monkey, people are attacked by it, terrified by it, but I didn't hear any reports that it killed anybody. Now, if people went missing there, maybe they fell prey to the crying baby thing. I don't know. But there's a lot of discussion over there about these cryptids, and even as small as the UK seems to be, there's a lot of a variety of ecosystem over there, from mountains to fields to forests to they've got a lot of it there. So, and of course, lots of waterways. So there's definitely things over there, and people are looking for them over there just like they are here. So we are about to go to the hour break, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get into more amazing stuff after that. So I hope you'll stick around. Again, if you're new to the show, we have to take the breaks to stay in sync with the network, which we're also broadcasting on for those of you on YouTube. So if you're new to the show, understand that the breaks are a necessary evil. So I hope you understand, but stick around. I'll be right back in just a couple minutes, and we'll do some more.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. But I'm not joking, yeah.
Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that's different from themselves. Her life force is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, ladies and gentlemen. We're here. We made it to hour number 2. Did you make it all the way? Are you here with me? Can I get a witness? Hallelujah. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you made it through that break okay. Those videos, if you're watching on YouTube, are my attempts to free you from listening to commercials that are broadcasting on the network. So that's how I keep it all together. Thank you for your patience and understanding, and hope you love the show all the same. All right, we've got a lot more paranormal fun right ahead of us. Again, if there's somebody has anything they want to call in about, please feel free. The phone number to the show is 720-923-0500. That's the way you call, and let me know what's going on in your world, what kind of weirdness you've seen, what you've experienced. I love it all. And if you got a bunch of stories, definitely get a hold of me via email at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, because I'd love to have you as a guest on the podcast. We are always collecting, real people experiencing real events to talk to on our podcast. So if you want to be one of them, you got some stories to share, I'd love to hear from you. So email me and we'll get it dialed in and have you on the show. So here we go. Hour number 2. Last night I had started reading a rather long article, but I'm going to go back to that a little bit because these stories were really good. I love the stories that are in there. It was just going to take most of a show to do it. So I'm going to read a few more of them. So this one, of course, this is coming from Factinate, Factinate, but it's factinate.com. And the I can't remember the title of the article, The Beyond. These chilling paranormal experiences defy explanation. That's what it was. That's why I couldn't remember it. There's a lot of words. So this one says The Lady in Blue. There's lots of ads on this too, so forgive me. I'm putting it on screen because it just gives you something to look at other than me read stuff. So it says, when I was in high school, I'd have my then girlfriend over to my house almost every day. And every night I'd have to drive her home. And since I was like 16, I had the whole no driving after 9 thing. So I drive her home at like 8:30 and get back on my road at around 9. But this is when something strange and bizarre happened. To this day, I can't explain it. One day when I turned off onto my road, I went up at about half a mile, and I see this girl, like a teenager, in a blue dress with a light blue ribbon tied around her waistline, walking down the road. It was around fall, and she was barefoot and grinning ear to ear with mascara stains running down her face, like from some heavy-duty crying. Oh, that's horrible. Ugh. I told my then girlfriend the story, and she didn't really believe me. It happened the next 3 nights, and each time I just stared at her, my heart beating hard in my chest. I never stopped to see what was the deal, or who in their right mind would. The 4th night, I waited until 10 to bring my girlfriend home, and I didn't see anything, and I haven't seen her since. So that's the one heartbreaker about these ghostly experiences, because it seems like they're stuck in whatever state they were at the end of their life. So if that's just residual, then okay, because it's just a replay of an event. But if it's an intelligent kind of thing, and it almost seems to be, but I don't know. It's too hard to tell. But if they keep repeating the same pattern over a period of nights, it does sound residual, and it doesn't indicate whether it looks at the person. I say it because you don't know what you're dealing with, but it doesn't look at the person or wave or try to stop them or anything. It just keeps wandering and smiling with like mascara stains going down her face. So I don't know if it's an actual intelligent being or if it's just residual. But if it is intelligent, then it's something that's stuck in that state, living in that agony, and that's what really breaks my heart. It's like, what kind of existence would that be, to remain in torment? And it's hard to know, but just on the outside looking in, I really hope that maybe somebody went along and tried to help that spirit out, because that's a heartbreaker. I can't imagine being stuck in my worst pain and having to experience it over and over and over and over and over. That would be hell. I mean, that's what I would interpret as hell. So let's continue. This is a ghostly imprint. It says, when I was 4 years old, my grandfather died by suicide. But not long after, when I would come home on the bus, I would see him standing by the pond by my house, just watching me. So I'd go home and tell my mom what I saw, and what I learned much, much later is that he had shot himself next to that very pond. I know it was him. See, that's sad too. But I don't know. I guess if it's grandpa, that's okay. If it's somebody else, that'd be creepy, but I don't know. What do you do with that one? Again, try to get him to cross over. The fatal aura is the next one. It says, when I was in high school, my girlfriend's parents would let me stay overnight on the weekends so long as I slept in the RV that was parked in back of the house. I'd done it multiple times, and my girlfriend would come sit outside with me for a while until she got tired, and then she would go inside, and I'd listen to my Walkman while I tried to fall asleep. I remember one night I was having trouble falling asleep. This wasn't so unusual for me, but as I lay there, I started to notice an unfamiliar background noise. When I removed my headphones, I realized that it sounded like people outside the RV were having a really loud discussion. Then the number of voices started to multiply and got louder and louder until it was just unbearable. Well, I searched around and round and peered out of the windows, but nobody was there. I was very shaken at this point, and I decided to run into the house and sleep in the living room and try to explain myself in the morning. Problem was, every time I got about 6 feet away from the RV, there would be a flash of white, and I would open my eyes and find myself back in the RV. Now I was nearly having a panic attack, so I called my girlfriend on the phone. She could hear how terrified I was, so she told me she was coming out to get me. I heard the back sliding door of her house open. I heard her walk across the deck, down the steps, across the garden stones, and I finally heard her hand fumble on the RV door, but when I swung it open, no one was there. Now I was pretty much in tears when suddenly I felt the presence of something behind me. I turned around and found this massive red aura hovering there. I was overcome with this immense sense of dread and felt like I couldn't breathe. I remember feeling like this energy was draining me, like absorbing my life force, if that makes any sense. I dropped to my knees and realized that if I didn't break free real fast, I was certainly going to die. I don't know where I found the strength from, but I willed myself back to my feet, slammed the RV door open, and bolted for the house. This time I actually got inside. I hollered for my girlfriend, and she came downstairs with her mom to much confusion. I explained everything that had happened, getting especially angry that my girlfriend never came outside like she promised. She said that we never spoke on the phone, and she had no idea what I was talking about. But when we compared our phones, mine showed a 1 minute 25 a.m. conversation completed to phone while hers showed nothing. And that's when she and her mom started talking to me seriously and began to look quite scared themselves. The rest of the night was uneventful except that I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I would see a small circle of immense intensity, burning white light. Now that's terrible. I don't know if you guys have seen this or maybe you've heard of it. If you haven't seen it, I've shown it on this channel before. But there's a video of this guy that goes into old abandoned mines, and it's done the rounds. Lots of people have seen it. I'm sure most of you have as well. But he's actually in there, and his channel is all about just checking out old mines, how they did things, and he explains the build of the mines and what each part was for, and et cetera, et cetera. His channel has nothing to do with the paranormal. But on one video, he's in a mine, and he's testing out this flashlight that was sent to him as, probably an endorsement deal of some kind. So he's in this mine. He's got this flashlight going, and it's a brilliant flashlight, by the way. I'd love to get my hands on one. But he's in there, and he's going through this corridor, this real narrow area. And he comes by a dump chute, and he kind of goes under it, and he's talking about the wood. And you can see the boards are really like bowed out, where all this weight of rock is leaning on these old boards. And he's like, yeah, this isn't really safe. And all of a sudden, as you're watching, you hear this sound that sounds like this. Just like that, except it's got a lot more reverb to it. So it's got a lot of spatial noise. And it just kind of hovers around in this sound. And the guy's like, he's first of all, he's incredibly brave, because I think most everybody, when they heard that, would be like, and they're out, I mean, I can't imagine calmly walking out of that. That guy has just got testicles of titanium or something. So he's in there and he's hearing it. He's like, what is that? What's that sound? I don't recognize that sound at all. And he kind of moves a little bit down, and then it disappears. And he's like, wow, I don't know what that was. Maybe wind or something, he says. It's like, what kind of wind are you hearing? Because that sounds like a whole bunch of pissed off voices whispering. And then he he kind of moves back, and he's still talking like, yeah, that's weird. I never heard anything like that before. He moves back to that area, and again, and it sounds kind of like parcel tongue from the Harry Potter movies, if that helps. And it's back again. He's like, it sounds, what is that, birds? Is that, what am I hearing? Is that, God, it sounds like snakes or something. And then he, after he experiences it a couple times like that, he's like, well, I don't know what this is, but we better get out of here. I don't know. This doesn't feel right. And then he just calmly walks out. And, what this story kind of brings back is that sensation of hearing this choir of voices talking, and you can't really make out what they're saying. And you got to wonder if that isn't, so there are spirits that draw from living. They draw from the living. They attach themselves to us if they can, but they definitely try to siphon off, our energy. And as I mentioned before, like energy vampires. So is that what this person experienced? Something similar. And was that maybe what was in that mind? Was it trying to connect to him enough to just kind of take control or whatever? And I think obviously the kid had the phone call that actually existed on his phone, but it didn't exist on his girlfriend's phone. So something intercepted that phone call. If indeed, if this story is absolutely true, it's presented as truth, so I'm giving it to you as it's presented. But the next thing was it was almost like he was stuck in illusions, like a whole bunch of illusions, and was just being overwhelmed by this thing that was drawing from his life force. And, you got to think, is that kind of what was going on? Was he experiencing maybe the same thing that guy experienced in the mine, but it never got attached to him because he just kind of continued on, and I don't know. But that's weird. And if you ever hear that sound, I would definitely urge moving away from it. I love that guy, though, because I'm really, I don't know who he is. I don't know much about the guy, but I have looked at his channel, and it's true. He doesn't have, it's not like a hoax where he's trying to get some publicity out of it for his channel. I mean, he talks about mines, and he's got a successful channel all by himself. And that's the only, well, there's another one that he caught some ghostly stuff on as well. And I'm trying to remember the name of the channel if I can. If anybody out there remembers it, please post it in the chats what the name of that channel is. But it's like Abandoned Mines or something like that. And it's a hell of a video. But you can Google it by just, searching for ghost voices in mines and stuff. And another one, he was in a mine that was well abandoned for a long time. But he started to hear, and you can hear it in the recording, the sounds of the crew about to detonate a load. they're about to blast a part of the mine, and there's even the emergency, the warning thing, and then like a radio voice warning everybody. It was really wild. So, but again, those are the only 2 videos that I know of that he has on that channel where this has occurred. Now, I give him a lot of credit because he did post it, and he doesn't stand by it. Anything he said, this is what I experienced. Here it is, but he did post it. Now, I think most everyone else would just be like, "Oh no, I'm not doing that. That's out. I'm done with that. I'll just go do another video instead." But very interesting stuff. But that whole whispering voices thing, it's almost like maybe the beginnings of a predation of sorts, where a spirit is trying to prey upon people, and that's one of the things it does, is to confuse you, like what's going on, and get you off of your balance, maybe. Just some random thoughts, but that's a fantastic story. Creepy as hell. I feel like I'm glad that kid figured it out, because maybe that's what happens to some people, is they don't, and then they just are found dead from natural causes or something. You never know. But interesting story all the same. Let's go to the next one. This one's a midnight visitor. The Midnight Visitor said, this happened about 2 months ago. I was alone in the house as my parents were working for the weekend. They were due back that evening, but then my mom texted me to say that they'd broken down and were waiting for a tow truck to pick them up. I asked them if there was anything I could do, but they told me to just go to sleep and they'd probably be back late. Fast forward to 3 a.m., I woke up to use the toilet, and when I left the bathroom, I glanced over to my parents' bedroom. The door was shut, and I could see lights on inside. It had been open and dark when I went to bed, so I thought, oh, they must be home. I stumbled towards the door and remember stopping myself thinking, no, I won't go in. I'll just speak to them in the morning. So I turned back towards my room and to go back to sleep. I awoke in terror. The sound of the front door opening downstairs, I glanced at the clock. It was 45 minutes after I'd last woken up. I thought it was a bit strange, and I got tense feeling in my stomach. And I walked out of the bedroom and glanced over to my parents' room, only to see the door open and the light off. The bed was also made so nobody had been in it. I felt sick. I went downstairs and nervously asked my mom, have you guys just got home? And she was like, yeah, why? I just sat staring into space wondering what the heck happened. And I'm still wondering right now. Yikes. Oh, God. I thought that was an X. Dang it. Okay, Father Knows Best is the next one. Let me see what I got for time here. I know the time goes fast here on the portal, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm trying to keep an eye on it so I don't talk into a break. But March 2015, my father had just passed a month ago. I wasn't sleeping well, and I would stay up later and later every night. And when he was alive, my father always used to scold me if I stayed up late, so because it would ruin my sleep schedule and affect my work. Just standard parenting stuff. So I'm thinking about this one night when I couldn't sleep, and it's about 2:30 a.m., and I'm watching YouTube on my PS4 to distract myself. Whoops, geez, that ad just blew up. Then the power in the house flickers. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was the start of the strangest night of my life. I checked the window. There's no rain or wind or anything. I figured somebody hit a pole or somewhere, maybe. A couple minutes later, power goes out for a second, then comes right back on. Nothing was affected, which is weird because when the power goes out, all the electronics usually reset. So I check the window again, but still see nothing happening outside. A couple minutes later, power goes out for almost a whole minute. From the couch, I can see the street light outside is still on, as well as the other houses on the street. Power comes back on, and everything is still as it was. Video continues where I left off. Clocks haven't reset, nothing. It's now 2:37 a.m., and I audibly said, okay, and went to bed. Next morning, I wake up for work. The clock on the oven says 11 a.m. My phone says 7:23. It was around 11 when my father left the house the day he passed. Fast forward to January of this year, the 3rd anniversary of my father's passing, and I can't sleep. I'm upstairs in my new home watching Netflix. Power flickers and goes out. I immediately said, okay, I'm going to bed. Power comes back on. Next morning, getting ready for work. Oven clock says 11:41 a.m. Dad doesn't like it when I stay up too late. So, always the parent. And I think that's, obviously it's maybe disruptive, but it's cool to know that they're still there. They're still with us, watching over us. They always say you'll never stop being a parent. I guess that's true. All right, this one is somebody's watching over you. Another one, okay. Disembodied voice may have saved my sister's life. When I was about 12, my family lived with my great-grandmother's house. She had passed in that house before my sister and I were even born, but we knew it was her home and we were staying in it. I'm sitting in the front room as my sister walks towards the front door, and she suddenly stops and turns to me. What did you say? She asked. Well, I hadn't said anything. I was sitting quietly with my headphones on, and we're looking at each other, confused, and suddenly a car spins out in the street in front of our house. The driver regains control and takes off at a high speed again. My sister was about to walk to her friend's house and might have crossed paths with that car if she had left the house earlier. We both startled, and my sister tells me that a stern voice that sounded like Mom told her to shut that door. Well, Mom was in her bedroom, but when we asked her, she hadn't said anything or left her room. The thing is, my sister had talked about dreams that she had before this where she would come home and speak to an old woman. One day, my mom finds an old photo album, and my sister instantly recognizes a picture of the old woman from her dreams. It was our great-grandmother whose home we were staying in. From what I've learned over the years, things like this are common for the women in my family. Even so, it still really freaks me out sometimes. That's a cool thing. I've often said that too about, oftentimes people in situations that have a presence around, they'll have, one of the big things that comes up over and over and over and over is keys. Keys get misplaced. And they always put the keys in the same space. And I've said this before, so forgive me if this is redundant, but we're always getting new listeners, and I like to repeat this because I think it might be important. I think it might be an important thing to mention. So people lose their keys. They always put them, put them in a bowl right by the entry door. They're always in the bowl. Then when they leave, they grab the keys. That's just their ritual. And they'll be maybe getting ready to go to work, come into the door, and the keys aren't there. They'll look and all around, and tossing their whole home to try to figure out where these keys are that they always put in that same place. And we're absolutely confident they put there as well the night before. Fine, a little while later, come back to the bowl, and there's the keys. So that person leaves and goes on to have a great day. And they often talk about that happening. And I'm thinking, what if that is like a divine intervention? What if it's just like that? It's just like that where somebody was going to leave. The sister was going to leave the house, heard the voice, stood there shocked and not sure what the hell was going on. And then they observed this car losing control and regaining control and speeding off. But if she had gone, she might have been killed by that. So that voice becomes a divine intervention of sorts. Well, maybe the missing key does too. Maybe the missing keys kept you from leaving at a certain time because you would certainly have been in perhaps in a car wreck or something of that nature, or been in a bad place or experienced something horrible. And, that one mischievous event may have saved your life. And I like that thought because it's nice to think that even though they drive you crazy at the time, I mean, it's happened to me. I've lost things and then found them where I thought I'd already looked 5 times. But when you think of the big picture, maybe that's exactly what had to happen. So I like that, and I hope that's well received by you guys. That those of you out there that may have experienced something of the like, I hope that makes sense to you. And so, it's kind of like one of those things. You don't prejudge a situation because you never know how far it goes and how deep the ramifications of it were. It might have seemed silly at the time, like something just toying with you, messing with you, causing you problems, but it might have saved you from a hell of a lot more. So just a thought. Just a thought. That's all I'm saying. Wow. We're almost at the last break. All right. Got just about 30 seconds. So I want to make sure that you guys know that after the show, after the Paranormal Portal on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live is Paisley Wild. The spaces between. She's coming up next. So she does a great show, talks about esoteric ideas, metaphysical stuff, body energy crystals, rituals, things like that. It's just a really great informative show to give you a lot of in-depth insight into some of those esoteric practices you hear so much about. So check it out. I know you love it. It's our friend Paisley Wild. So help to support our show. But anyway, we'll be right back. Last break. 1.5 hour to go. Don't leave me now. Got more to come. Representing Great Lakes. I'm a Minnesotan too, don't you know? You betcha, huh? Got another Minnesotan in the house. That's cool. Very cool. I hope you guys are doing great. This is last half hour of the show. Last half hour. What's wrong with my voice? It's the last half hour of the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed our journey thus far. All right, let me get things whipped up into shape here. I really do appreciate all you guys being here. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to see the house full of fun. Chat room's always full of fun, both chat rooms. Although the TFR chat room's a little quiet tonight, but the YouTube, you guys are showing up for sure. Great to see you all. Thank you all for being here and being a part. I'm saying being, not being. Thanks for being a part of what we're doing. What am I looking for here? Oh, I remember. I remember. Sometimes I'm not so sure, but I remember now. It's how I work. All right, here we go. No. Wrong. I thought I knew what I was doing. Sorry. Now I know what I'm doing. We're going to do more Bigfoot reports because I love me some Bigfoot reports, and I think they're fun to discuss, fun to talk about. And I can't think of a better way to spend the last half hour than discussing some Bigfoot reports. And this is coming from the BFRO.net, which I like this site. I know they desperately got to update this thing because it's pretty archaic, but still the information is good. And it's a lot. Oh, they got some expeditions. 2020. I wonder how many of those have worked out because of this whole Corona thing. We were booked. The Paranormal Portal. Don and I were going to do a few conferences this year, and it's like everything is just folded up. It's been such a tragedy this whole year, and I don't mean to continually whine about 2020. I mean, every one of you guys is experiencing the same 2020 as I am for the most part. You know, other than the lockdown stuff and all of the, you know, how hard it was hitting people. It wasn't a bad year for me. It was just, unfortunately, we missed some opportunities for the show that I think would have been wonderful and could have, you know, really helped us. But I don't know. Everybody canceled their expos and conferences. So, you know, hopefully this next year we'll be able to revisit some of those ideas and get out there and meet you guys. I don't know how far and abroad we're going to go. We'll go as far as we can. I mean, there's no question we'd love to get out and do, you know, national type of expos and conferences. And we'll try to make as many of them as possible because I think it's an awesome opportunity to get out and meet you guys and see you guys in person. I've been able to meet a few of the listeners. When we did the Coloma expedition, met Justin Good Earth, met Cha-Cha, met MCAT, and met why am I just drawing a blank? Oh my God. I'm sorry, brother. My brain just erupted on me. But we met several people from the show. And you guys came along with us. Why am I not remember? I can't. A Titan. Thank you, Cha-Cha. Jesus. Why was that just gone from my mind? It was like those words were just vacuumed out. Sorry about that, Met Titan. Yeah, we had a great time with all of you guys. And it would be fun if we could do more of that. So we certainly will be doing what we can to put together some of those things in the future as well. If you want to get together with us. And what that was, we got together and checked out a ghost town up on the top of a mountain in Montana near Missoula, a town called Coloma. So we definitely want to do a lot more of that this next year. I don't know about what's left of this year. If it's possible, we can throw something together. We will, but it's like this 2020 thing makes me want to just stay home until it's over. I don't know what else is going to drop, what other shoe is going to drop in this whole deal, but that and conferences. So we plan on getting to all the conferences we can. So we'll make those announcements as we are able to. So give me a state, somebody. Give me a state. I want to talk about wherever state you are. We should try Minnesota. Since I know Greater Lakes is in Minnesota or from Minnesota, and I am as well. Let's at least look for one here. From my old stomping grounds. I'm now in the north of Idaho, so it's way up in the top of Idaho, up in the rugged mountainous region. It's beautiful up here, but there are a lot of Sasquatch here too. In fact, the county that I'm in Idaho, is the most reported county on the BFRO, which is Bonner County. So let's see I was from the South, though. I wonder if there's some South Minnesota kind of things going on, because that's where I had my experience as a 14-year-old. But I don't see much. I'd never heard reports growing up of any of that stuff. And it's funny because as an adult, or as a 14-year-old, I had the experience of the growling. And I'd been all my life in and out of the Mississippi River. And then as an adult, I heard about the whole Peppy thing, which is supposed to be like a Loch Ness monster that's supposed to exist out there that nobody felt they needed to let me know as a kid when I'm in there swimming like a minnow. I was just bait. But I never saw anything that I would have thought was anything. Although, if you're out on the shorelines, what I will say is that at nighttime, you go sit on the shore when it's just peaceful and quiet and dark, and you'll hear these enormous splashes out in the water. And I always thought it was just like the big fish coming from way down and hitting stuff on the surface. Maybe they were more nocturnal, but whatever they were huge. And so that, now as I think about that, it makes me wonder, yeah. Utah. Okay, Aussie, we can look into Utah. Titan is father of the bride tonight. Oh, really? Oh, very cool. I didn't know that, but congratulations to the Titan family. That's awesome. Very cool. Thank you, Bomber, for that update. I don't know anything. Nobody tells me nothing around here, man. I swear to God. No, I'm just teasing. You guys tell me stuff. All right, so I don't see anything from any counties that seem close that I can remember from Minnesota, but let's see where's the most happening. It looks like Beltrami. No, there's Itasca has a bunch, and St. Louis County has 20. Let's go check there. St. Louis County, Minnesota, and I'm only looking at Class A's. So it looks like the most recent was actually April of 2018. Oh wow. Okay, so let's see what this is going on. This is Itasca County in Minnesota, and it's or St. Louis County. I'm sorry, rather St. Louis. And it's a Class A sighting of April 26th of 2018. So really just 2.5 years ago. So the location details are approximately 2.5 miles south of where Minnesota Highway 73 meets Minnesota Highway 53 North. And it's close to Cook, Minnesota. It says, I was driving on Highway 73 past Olson Road, where there is a recent clear cut on the north side of the road. I seen a large brown animal sitting on the north side of the road in the grassy area of the ditch. I got to within 120 yards or so from the animal, and it stood up and took 3 steps to cross the road, heading south into the swampy area on the other side of the road. I stopped the vehicle, and you could see the grass on the north side patted down where something had been. The animal was brown in color, and when standing, I estimate it to have been 7 to 8 feet tall. I was the only one in the vehicle. There was no other witnesses. So now that sounds like a really similar thing. Now here's the weird part, and this is stuff we have talked about before. But why? Why do they do this? For a species that seems to want to be absent of people, they will do that. They sit right on the side of a road, and obviously they have great hearing. So I'm sure that car didn't surprise them. They knew it was coming for quite a while. This thing knew it was coming, but chose to just hunker down and sit there until the person was close enough to see. And then it chose to get up and just amble across the road until it got to the other side going into the swampy area. Now, why do they do that? And again, I gotta, maybe it is more of a challenge kind of thing. Like, I don't care. Now that does come up a lot in sightings when they are sighted. Many times they don't go, "Ooh, you got me," and then bolt off. Many times they just kind of look and go, "What are you going to do about it?" It's like they just look at you like, "What do you want?" And then they just kind of keep going their way. And I don't know, because otherwise they are avoiding people like crazy, any kind of detection at all. And they're known to cover their own tracks. There's been First Nation reports of, and other people have seen them dragging branches if they're walking along a roadway, like a logging road. People have observed them dragging cedar branches to cover their footsteps. So then why would they wait on the side of a road for a car to come and then just go, I'm here? and amble across. That just, it's such a contradiction of behavior. And maybe it's rogues, maybe it's kind of displaced ones that they're, I imagine the family groups probably stay pretty small because that's a lot of calories that need to be supplied every day. So at a certain point, I'm sure they probably kick out the older ones, say, you're on your own, go find your own turf. And maybe it's these displaced ones that are probably feeling a little unsure of themselves and lonely. I don't know. Or it's some alpha male that got kicked out of his area by a younger, more powerful one. I don't know. These are all things to think about, but it just seems so contrary to have such an elusive nature and go to such great lengths to hide their presence, and yet wait on the side of a road for a car to come and then cross. And that to me is just, it is an enigma. And I can't say I understand, but then again, who the hell knows? Who the hell could know? I did like Bear's description, Jim Bear King, when he was on the show. He said, yeah, it's probably the younger ones and they're counting coup. And if you're not familiar with the term, counting coup is like a challenge game where you get respect or accolades by taking a dare and doing something that the other ones wouldn't want to do. And so maybe it's a collection of juveniles just going, hey, just wait down there till that car comes and it gets about there, and then you walk across. And, maybe it's possible. They are tribal. They are, intelligent. So just some thoughts. I don't know. I love to think about this kind of stuff, though, because I do believe they are, very intelligent. This is not accidental. They choose these encounters for some reason. Maybe they just like their legend alive. Who knows? Maybe they know it's time people start talking about us again. If they are telepathic, maybe they really do know. Are they thinking about Bigfoot? No? All right, let's show them, boys. Who knows? But it is a curiosity for sure. All right, here's one from 2012. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This one's from a hunter. I like the hunter stories quite a bit because those are the guys that really are out in the woods more than any of us. They are constantly in the woods. If they're not in season out in the woods, they're in the woods out of season to see what's going to happen in season. So these guys that head out in the forest and are avid hunters, they're as far as people go, they're very adept and they know their terrain. And so when they say they see a Bigfoot, you got to believe them that they know what a Bigfoot would look like and that it's not just a bear. So if it's just a hiker, you got to leave the door open like, was it really a Bigfoot or could it have been, and then fill in the blank. But with a hunter, they have to recognize game animals. They have to know what they're seeing in order to legally shoot it, because you don't want to get the penalties and the fines and possible jail time for doing it wrong. So they do usually know what they're looking at in the forest. And so this one is coming from St. Louis County, close to Virginia, Minnesota. Okay, that's way up there. And it says, this incident occurred early September 2012. Bear hunting season had just begun in Minnesota, and I was running a few bait stations, and that was maybe 7:20 in the morning when I left my house to go to first bait station. I've never harvested a bear, and this was my most promising bait station that I had. It was hit every single day from the first day, and it was legal to bait. I had a trail camera on this bait station the week before the season for a few days, so I had an idea of when the bear were coming and in the general direction they were coming from. The morning was beautiful, cool, and the sun was just over the horizon. This is my favorite time of day because it seems this is when the woods come alive. I turn off the dirt road and start down the logging trail. My bait station was located about 150 yards through the brush. The area holds a bunch of mature poplar mixed with a few maple and balsam trees. As I was sitting at the fork about to get out of the truck, I was looking down the left trail, which over time was widened out a bit by trying to avoid the muddy areas. And when I saw it, it came across the trail fast. It was about 50 to 60 yards from me. And if I hadn't been looking at that second, I would have never seen it. Most stories about Bigfoot are that he is brown or black. Well, whatever this was big and gray and white in color, And I kind of sat there for a second, shook it off, and told myself, no, I was imagining things. So I get out of my truck and go to grab my bait bucket when I could hear it running through the brush towards my bait station distinctively on two legs. I've been a bow hunter my entire life, so I know the sound of a four-legged animal makes when it runs or trots. I realized that I was not imagining things and that it really just happened. I promptly climbed back in my truck and left. Even though my goal for many years was to harvest a bear, I was too shook up to return to that bait station. All bait stations are required to have your information affixed within a certain distance of the bait station, so I knew I had to return to that bait station to get my sign. A few weeks later, I had a good friend of mine come out there with me. We retrieved my sign and left, and this was the last time I was in that area. There you go. So this was just a happenstance of luck. It was obviously trying to get to that bait station before he was there, but he said if he wasn't looking, he wouldn't even have seen it. That's pretty incredible. All right, let me look here. God, we're down to 9 minutes. Where does the time go? But, you know, again, he doesn't really talk about how big it was, but he just knows what he saw. And, you know, people talk about, oh, it's probably bear. It's probably bear. Well, if it's running on two legs, you know, I know that there's that one bear that was really popular on those videos that had injured front paws. Something was wrong with its front paws, and it was walking everywhere. Even in that case, you can tell that was a bear because while it was up on two legs bipedally walking, it was the ratios were so obvious that it was not anything but a bear. The back hind legs are not long. They're rather stubby in relation to the body, whereas like a human, you have these long legs, and Bigfoot, I'm sure, are even a little bit longer. Maybe not. The ratios are that for the Bigfoot, their arms and legs are about the same length. And that's why their hands are down at their knees, whereas ours are much shorter. I think our arms are, you know, like 60% as long as our legs or something like that, or 80%. But primates like chimpanzees and gorillas, it's about the same. Or maybe for gorillas it's not. I don't know. But anyway, it's very, very clearly it's not a bear. So when you look at that video of that bear running around that neighborhood trying to find stuff to eat, you can tell it's still a bear. I mean, it's creepy that it's running around on two legs. It takes a little getting used to, but you'd have to be a fool to think that that was a Bigfoot because the legs are short and there isn't much to them as it's walking. It's taking these real quick steps with its back feet. And so, I don't know. And when you look at the stride length of a Bigfoot, you know, that's six or more feet. Sometimes in between those strides are 5 to 6 feet is what I hear most commonly. And if it was a bear, the stride length would be very short and wouldn't be anywhere near that much distance between footfalls. You know, there'd just be no way. So I'm sure if this guy is a hunter, is hunting bear, he would know what a bear looked like up on two legs. And they don't generally do that. The only reason this one bear was because it had injured paws. It had no opportunity to run quadrupedally at all. So it had adapted and decided to be bipedal or die. And yeah, I think that's very interesting. But this sighting was just more happenstance. He just happened to be looking up at the right time. He said it crossed the road so quickly. If he had not have been looking up right then, he would never have seen it. So I think we got time for one more. Let's dig up one more here. And this is from, let's see. An animal observed near Hibbing. Okay. This one is from 2004. Again, Minnesota. We're covering my own because this is for Great Lakes Squatch and me. And any other Minnesotans that are out there listening. Of course, it's for you too. All right, so this is from July 17th of 2004, near Hibbing, Minnesota. Observed, it says, we live in a rural residence south of Hibbing. Shortly before 5 on Saturday, July 17th, 2004, my husband had gotten up and started his coffee when he started hearing strange noises. He said they sounded like a low cry or calling noise. Low cry or calling noise. He said he'd never heard anything like it before, and so he stepped out the door and thought he would walk down to get the previous day's mail and see if they could determine what that noise was. It says this font is so small. When he was next to his car, he looked to the left into a growth of pines about 50 feet away, and he saw a figure there that was about 6 or 7 feet tall and not in clothing, was covered in fur head to toe, and was on 2 feet. He looked at it for several seconds, and was too stunned himself to move, and then it noticed him, and it ran off to a field or the woods just north of us. It ran in human form and not on 4 legs. My husband went to the area after, but there was not much he could tell on the pine needles, but in the grass he could see large footprints pressed down. Later that day, my father walked out to the grass area and followed his tracks a while, and he came upon feces he said that were not from a deer or a bear. I wonder if they collected it. I remember talking to Bobo or hearing him. I don't remember if he did it on our show or if it was on another one of the shows he was on. But before he had become this, the staple of the Bigfoot world, he was a researcher for a long time. I don't know what that sound was. He was a researcher for a long time, and he said he'd find these piles of feces, and he'd bag them up and bring it down to the ranger station for testing, going on and on about Sasquatch. And he said that they never got back to him, and he always kept checking. Well, did you guys get this test? No, we haven't had a chance or whatever. And they just kind of played him off. And I guess he had a friend go work there at that same ranger station. He said, "Yeah, find out whatever happened to my poop," or something like that. I'm paraphrasing this, but he said, "Oh, that was you." He said they were telling jokes about some guy that would come in with bags of poop all the time, wanting it tested. He said they just threw it away as soon as he left. Oh man, that's humor. I don't know. It's too bad because I'm sure he was dead serious on it, of course, because it's Bobo. He's living for this stuff. But they were just chucking it when he left. Like, oh man, that guy came in again with a bag of poop. Oh, that makes me laugh. That makes me laugh. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. That's the paranormal world we know, though, and we love it. But we're down to just a few minutes left. Not long enough to get into anything new, unless one of these stories is really short. I can maybe read one more of those from that long list of things I've been reading. This one is called Don't Go Into the Light. It's short enough. It says, 20 or so years ago, I was driving east on Highway 60 at night. There were 2 of us in the car, and we noticed a really bright light on the roadside, or on the right rear side. I mean, really bright. When we then remembered that the train tracks were there, so we kept driving without really thinking about it. Well, the light stayed with us, which was weird because trains usually don't go that fast out there. So then my friend rolls down the window and looks back to see what it is, and suddenly the light vanishes. Also, no sound. So now we're a little freaked. We pull over to check things out. A chilling realization sets in. There are no train tracks next to the road in this section of the road. Now we're really freaked out and bolt out of there ASAP. That sounds like they had a UFO encounter. Huh. I suppose when the head picked out of the window, they probably, oh, just going to look. Turn it off. Yeah, that's creepy. I don't know what would you do if they were following you. I think I'd freak out because they're following you. When I saw one, it was like I was doing fine until I realized that they were probably watching me too, and then it freaked me out. It was like, well, I don't want this. I don't need any probing tonight. So I just went inside and locked the doors and just paced for hours. But if I was driving along, I'd be thinking, oh, Betty and Barney Hill. Oh my God. Yeah, but maybe I'd get the book and keep it. If you're not familiar with Betty and Barney Hill's story, you should look into it. It's a really fascinating story, but during her abduction, she asked the captain if she could keep a book that she had picked up there, like a manual or something. Captain said yes, but then some other person or being in there said, no, you can't have that, and took it away from her. So unfortunately, she could have brought back some incredibly tangible proof, but they didn't let it happen. But yeah, if a UFO was following me, I'd be all kinds of freaked out. Let's see, we've got a minute left. That's about all we got time for then. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Again, please check out the podcast. It'll be released tomorrow on all the major podcast platforms. Make sure you follow us on social media. And if you're new to the channel here, make sure to get subscribed. Please subscribe and ring the bell so you'll know when we're live. We do shows live here on YouTube from Wednesday night until Sunday night. Monday and Tuesdays are off, but then we also have the podcast every Sunday as well, which is completely different from the YouTube show. So don't confuse the two. Most people do. But anyway, that's all we got for you. Love you guys. Thank you, Bam. Appreciate that, brother. I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody.